The story begins in the Feral Land's outskirts near the Shao mansion, where a young girl named Yu is walking ahead, and her companion Mai watches her. Another girl with extremely long black hair, also named Yu Shao, approaches Mai and calls her name. Yu Shao offers Mai a pinwheel toy she picked for her, and Mai accepts it, but it soon swooshes away from her grasp. Yu Shao notices Mai seems troubled and asks what's wrong, but Mai simply says nothing. Yu Shao then playfully corrects Mai for calling her Miss Yu, reminding her they are the same age. Mai, dressed in a white outfit, explains that they are not of the same class, as Yu Shao is a noble while she is not. Yu Shao affectionately calls Mai a stubborn sister and tells her to stop being so formal because it's weird, causing Mai to blush and stammer. Later, it seems Lord Qin, Yu Shao's father, is addressing Yu Shao, telling her to come along as they shouldn't keep him waiting and that she has a long journey ahead. Yu Shao expresses her excitement about finally leaving the mansion, though her father hasn't told her their destination, making everything feel like a big secret. Mai teasingly asks Yu Shao if she's scared, to which Yu Shao proudly declares she is Yu Shao, heir to the Shao tribe and descendant of warlords, so she isn't scared at all. Mai, holding a sword, reminds Yu Shao that actions speak louder than words. Yu Shao then wonders if Mai repeats everything her dad says and playfully imagines Mai wanting to make a grand entrance, announcing the Shao's arrival to receive bows and adulation. Mai, however, points out that since they are exiles, such a reception is unlikely and would mostly apply to Yu Shao and Lord Qin anyway. Yu Shao argues that it would include Mai, her mother Lin, and everyone else in the Shao, but Mai firmly states that's not how it works, leading to a light-hearted disagreement between them. Their argument is cut short by a loud booming sound, and both girls look startled. Yu Shao asks Mai what the noise was, and Mai, drawing her sword, looks ahead as chaos erupts. Men are sent flying and are injured, and a mysterious man in a suit and hat appears, asking for the owner of the establishment amidst the fallen bodies. Lin, Mai's mother, shouts for Lord Qin to be protected, and guards step forward. The man in the hat cryptically states he's been searching for his darling for a very long time. Meanwhile, Lord Qin asks Lin where Yu and Mai are, and Lin replies they are together in the forest, prompting Lord Qin to order them to be found. Lord Qin then confronts the man in the hat, telling him no one knows or cares what he's talking about. The man in the hat swiftly attacks Lord Qin, knocking him down and declaring that Lord Qin will pay for harming his family. Spotting Yu Shao and Mai running through the forest, the man in the hat decides to go after them. As Yu Shao calls out to her father, Lord Qin shouts for the girls to run, but the man in the hat quickly moves past him. The man in the hat grabs Lord Qin by the throat, lifting him into the air. Lin, seeing this, pulls out an umbrella-like weapon and shouts for the man to be killed, throwing the weapon which spins towards him. Guards rush to attack, but the man uses Lord Qin as a shield. Lin, kneeling, seems to use some power as the weapon multiplies and attacks the man, who is slightly cut. However, he grabs Lin's arm, calls her a spitfire, and with a snap of his fingers, engulfs the attacking guards in flames, horrifying Yu Shao and Mai who witness this from a distance. Enraged, Lord Qin gets up, vowing to take the man's head, and charges at him. As they fight, Lin struggles against the man, who tells her to let go. He then brutally breaks Lin's neck, and she falls to the ground. Mai tries to reassure a horrified Yu Shao that everything will be fine now that Lord Qin is fighting. However, the man in the hat's head appears to detach and then reattach, shocking Lin just before she is fatally impaled from behind. Lord Qin, Yu Shao, and Mai watch in utter terror as Lin collapses. The man in the hat, his head reattached, commends Lin's ingenuity, stating she has his respect. He then apologizes to Yu Shao for getting carried away, assuring her that Lin and the rest of her kin are still alive, to which a defeated Lord Qin mutters, "Barely." Yu Shao, crying, calls out to Mai, who looks on in shock with a crescent moon symbol visible in her eyes. As Yu Shao turns to flee with Mai, the man in the hat mockingly asks Lord Qin to keep Lin's body warm until he gets back. This ignites a furious rage in Lord Qin, who unleashes a powerful attack, shouting about the line of his lineage. Explosions rock the area while Yu Shao urges Mai that they must go back for her mother. Mai, however, silences Yu Shao, shouting at her to shut up. Yu Shao apologizes for her outburst, but Mai passionately declares she doesn't care about class or titles, only that they are family and she wants everyone to be okay. Yu Shao, overwhelmed, cries about the terrible situation. Their emotional exchange is interrupted by another massive explosion. When the fighting sounds cease, Yu Shao wonders if Lord Qin won. Mai then hands Yu Shao a dagger, instructing her to head for the cliffs, follow a path to the backroads, and then go west to another mansion, showing them the dagger. Mai declares she is going back, and when Yu Shao insists on coming, Mai refuses, saying Yu Shao would only slow her down. Despite Yu Shao's pleas that she can help, Mai firmly tells her that as the heir to the Shao, Yu Shao's safety comes first. Yu Shao retorts that she cares more about Mai than her own safety if it means leaving Mai behind. Mai then shares a flashback about her and Lin's life as drifters before meeting Lord Qin and Yu Shao, emphasizing how the Shao family treated them with respect and like equals, despite their noble status. This kindness and the peace she found with them is something Mai vows to protect. Looking at Mai, Yu Xiao says her name softly. Mai tells Yu Xiao to keep the dagger close and turns to leave, but as she does, something whooshes past, and Mai shouts for Yu Xiao to hurry and get help, promising to be strong no matter what. As Yu Xiao flees, Mai turns back, determined to make up for not being the sister Yu Xiao needed. Yu Xiao runs through the forest, thinking of Mai and everyone, but trips and tumbles down a slope. Regaining her footing, she hears the man in the hat's voice taunting her, saying she's the last one left and questioning if she would leave her family behind. The dagger reflects the faces of her loved ones. Yu Xiao defiantly declares herself the Xiao heir, but the man in the hat uses his power to blast her off a cliff. She falls, hitting her head with a crack. The man looks down at her unconscious form, remarking that she's a black sheep too, and offers his condolences with a peace sign. A pinwheel, similar to the one Yu Xiao once gave Mai, floats down and lands beside her. 2 days later, at the Amesian mansion, a car pulls up. The driver, who resembles the man in the hat and is fiddling with a pinwheel, is asked by someone in the back what he thinks Lord Razin wants. The driver, looking into the rearview mirror, replies simply, "Trouble," as a crescent moon shines in the night sky. Yu Xiao awakens in a strange room with a bandage on her head and an 4 in her arm, disoriented and wondering where she is. A woman with a headscarf, who had briefly peeked in, quickly shuts and locks the door. Determined to escape, Yu Xiao pulls out her 4, gets out of bed, and rushes to the door, banging on it and crying out to be let out. The door suddenly opens, revealing a tall, bearded man in a hooded cloak. Startled, Yu Xiao bumps into him and stumbles backward, instinctively grabbing the dagger Mai had given her. She defensively tells the man to stay back, demanding to know who he is and where she is. The man calmly reassures her, introducing himself as Razin Amesian and explaining that he is an old friend of her father, Lord Chen, and is there to help. Yu Xiao anxiously asks how he knows her name and frantically inquires about her dad and Mai. Razin assures her he will not harm her but needs to know what happened and who attacked her, while Yu Xiao clutches a piece of paper with Mai's name on it. A terrifying flashback floods Yu Xiao's mind, showing the menacing man in the white suit and hat standing over her defeated family members, his fanged smile etched in her memory. She tells Razin that a man in white attacked them, and when Razin asks where he came from or why he was there, Yu Xiao tearfully explains she doesn't know, that he attacked them suddenly, and she desperately needs to find her family. Razin solemnly promises her, on the blood of his ancestors, that they will find her tribe. Just then, Yu Xiao's stomach grumbles loudly. Razin gently suggests they get something to eat first and discuss matters further afterward, though Yu Xiao looks at him skeptically, questioning if he is truly a friend of her father. Before Razin can respond, there's a knock at the door, and he invites the person in. The same woman with the headscarf enters, and Razin instructs her to take Yu Xiao to the dining hall, saying he will join them shortly. The scene then shifts to the Amesian mansion's driveway at night, where a woman in a military-style uniform, named Taisha, is standing near the car. Another man, wearing a white turban and traditional clothing, approaches. Taisha, now holding a large chain sword staff, tells the turbaned man to move, but he defiantly replies, "Make me." A swift fight ensues as the turbaned man, Olo, dashes forward and attacks Taisha with his own staff. Taisha skillfully blocks and parries with her chained weapon, and after a brief exchange, she suggests they up the ante. Olo inhales deeply and then unleashes a barrage of needle-like projectiles from his staff. Taisha expertly dodges and deflects the projectiles, her weapon crackling with electricity as she maneuvers around the attack and charges towards Olo. Their weapons clash, and Taisha ultimately strikes Olo, sending him to the ground. Taisha stands over Olo, asking if he's done already, and then states that if she had wanted him dead, he would be. Olo, surprised, asks how she defeated him. Taisha explains that she can't stand him getting one over her and that someone needs to keep young bloods in check. Olo touches his arm, wondering if he's been poisoned, but Taisha reassures him it was only a graze and he'll sleep it off. Olo then gets up and warmly hugs Taisha, calling her by her first name. Taisha apologizes for not having time to bring any gifts, but Olo says it's quite alright, adding with a smile that, as it happens, Lord Razin picked up something interesting last night, clearly referring to Yu Xiao. The story flashes back 25 years ago to Nubia, Thynis, where two men, Masai and Amesian, are engaged in a heated debate before a crowd. Masai, aged 43, argues against working with other nations, believing it shows weakness and would leave them vulnerable to attack, advocating for closing their borders to non-Nubians. Arad, aged 38, counters that ongoing wars are depleting their lands and that cooperation with other nations could lead them to the free lands, saving everyone. He suggests that in the meantime, they can alleviate the strain on their nation by taxing nobles and royals more, questioning at what expense the current path is being taken, as the common people will have nothing left. The crowd reacts with mixed sentiments, some clapping for Masai, others booing Arad's suggestion. Masai, enraged, accuses Arad of wanting to bring more disaster and insults him, mentioning tracker brutes and Arad's whore. As Masai lunges to attack Arad, a younger Razan then 32 and a royal advisor, swiftly intervenes, striking Masai down. The flashback continues, showing Arad at the bedside of a dying woman named Enya Amesian, aged 24, who tells him their son, Izam, is born. A woman named Abadu, aged 45, holds the newborn Izam, stating that the Ebony's eye cannot change a fate that overpowers it. She looks at the baby, saying the bloodline continues but expresses sorrow for her son, as Izam Amesian is born. Returning to the present day at the Amesian mansion, Razan greets his nephew, Izam, who has arrived. Razan, whom Izam calls Uncle Razan, apologizes for the short notice and asks how the tracking business is treating him. Izam replies that there are more requests than he can handle, and Razan jests that the legend himself might want to come out of retirement, which Izam doesn't doubt. Razan then explains that he received an emergency call from the Shao some days ago and, upon arrival, found the grounds scorched but no bodies. Izam questions if they were lost in the fire and what it has to do with him. Razan reveals that he and Lord Chen had planned to travel to Nubia with Chen's daughter, Yushao, who possesses a unique ancestral aura. He believes their attacker was searching for her and needs Izam's help. Razan asks Izam to take Yushao to Thinus to meet with the Visionist to uncover the secrets within the child, promising to meet him there in 2 days. Izam asks what suspicions Razan has, and Razan reveals his belief that Yushao is the key to the Mystic Continent, and probably the key for humanity to access the free lands. Izam sips his drink, remarking on the fine scotch, and Razan acknowledges that he doesn't wish to go back either but needs to confirm his suspicions. Izam then bids his uncle good night, stating he has no intention of ever setting foot in that place again and questions if Razan seriously believes some Han child is the answer everyone's been searching for. Razan tries to insist, but Izam cuts him off, saying he's right and apologizing. Izam then says Razan must be tired and suggests they get something to eat, excusing himself to attend to his own work. Later, Yushao is shown in a large dining hall, surrounded by servants, finishing a meal. The woman with the headscarf asks if she's satisfied, and Yushao nods. Razan and Izam then enter the hall, and Razan tells Yushao he had some Yamato steaks imported that he's sure she'll love. As Yushao walks towards them, Razan introduces Izam as his nephew and Yushao to Izam. Izam, however, is immediately confrontational. He notes he doesn't sense an aura and bluntly asks Yushao her age. When she glares defiantly, asking why she should tell him, he scoffs, wondering if she's deaf. He dismisses her to Razan as a no-blood, weak, frail, timid, and sheltered, questioning what Razan expects from her. He then turns back to Yushao, asking where her aura is and if she was so helpless she could only watch her tribe fall, or if she's just a coward. Razan tries to intervene, but Yushao, enraged, shouts that Izam doesn't know anything and tells him to show her. A powerful aura suddenly erupts from Yushao, surprising both Razan and Izam. Yushao then slumps and Izam catches her, but an axe-shaped key flies from her hand. Razan quickly apologizes for Izam's behavior, assuring Yushao he's there to help, but she snatches the key and runs off down the hall. After Yushao leaves, Razan sighs, telling Izam that she just lost her family and that he knows Izam hasn't forgotten how that feels. Izam remarks on her aura, saying he couldn't sense it until it was unleashed, and as it rescinded, it completely vanished from her presence. Razan agrees, adding that it's like the aura doesn't even belong to her, much like their own. He further explains that they have been negating her aura with the seal, but as she grows older, her powers also grow stronger. Razan then notes that the forests near the Shao mansion are mysteriously dying and that this phenomenon is even more prevalent around Yushao, indicating he must find out what it means. He then tells Izam it's time to reapply Izam's own seal and asks for his sword. Meanwhile, Yushao runs down the hall and tries to enter her room, but the aide who had earlier escorted her, the woman with the headscarf, tells her the room has been made, implying it's secured. Yushao bangs on the door until the aide opens it. Shortly after, Razan arrives and asks the aide if Yushao has returned to her room. The aide confirms she has, and Razan thanks her before knocking on Yushao's door. He tries to reassure Yushao that they are on her side and will do everything in their power to help, but Yushao, sitting on her bed, shouts for him to leave her alone. Razan, respecting her wishes, tells her he will have the aide stand by if she needs anything and bids her good night. Alone, Yushao remembers Mai's parting words, urging her to be strong no matter what trouble she might face. The story then flashes back 15 years to the Amesian household in Nubia, Thinus. A young Izam, aged 10 and looking bruised, and a young girl named Jira, also 10, are walking together. A woman, Abadu, who is Izam's mother, approaches them, asking what happened. Izam tearfully confesses that he lost their heirloom. Abadu is surprised, knowing Izam is usually responsible and very honest. Jira explains that kids from the temple took it, and although she could have beaten them, Izam stopped her. Izam interjects that using violence would have gotten them suspended, but Jira retorts that self-defense is not violence. Abadu then tells Izum it's time to strengthen his hands, asking how else he will take back what was stolen from him. She suggests they combine their strength, explaining that when people fight as one, they become a force even gods fear, and together, the strength from their hands will be more than enough. She then performs a ritual, her hands glowing as she touches Izum's, whose own hands begin to gleam with power. Later, as they walk away, Abadu thanks Jira for protecting Izum, remarking that Jira will make a fine wife for him someday, which seems to surprise Jira. Jira then confides in Abadu that the other kids keep saying Izum is a monster, leaving young Izum looking deeply troubled as he wonders why. Returning to the present day, Izum is in his room when his phone buzzes. It's Taisha, who informs him that a little girl is making one hell of a dash from the mansion. Izum, realizing it's Yu Xiao, sternly orders Taisha not to let her escape. After he hangs up, Taisha sighs to herself, muttering that this is why he's still single. Unsure which way to go, she is suddenly confronted by Taisha, who greets her casually. Taisha admits the situation looks like a kidnapping and confirms she is, in a way, there to capture her. Yu Xiao tries to run, but Taisha activates a device on her wrist, causing a swirl of leaves or feathers to surround Yu Xiao, hindering her escape. Defiantly, Yu Xiao holds up her dagger and declares herself the heir to the Xiao tribe, descendant of warlords, threatening Taisha if she isn't released. Taisha calmly uses her power to completely engulf Yu Xiao in leaves, immobilizing her, and remarks that Yu Xiao will need more than just threats. Meanwhile, Razin, Izum, and Olo discuss the situation. Razin states they need to find Yu Xiao quickly, mentioning he already sent Taisha after her. Olo complains about the strenuous activity. Izum observes that Razin plans to track the Xiao's assailant, and Razin confirms this, instructing Izum to prepare for his hunt while he takes Yu Xiao to the Visionist. Razin explains to Izum that while Nubia is the last place he wants to be, he believes any remaining hope for the world lies in the Freelands. Izum questions why Razin isn't satisfied with their comfortable life and asks why he became a tracker, warning that pursuing this path could lead to conflict with the royals. Razin elaborates that his parents wanted a world free from the constraints of bloodlines, where nobles were accountable and war didn't burden the masses. He reveals he has spent his time building a fortune and connections to achieve this future, honoring his parents' wishes as long as the Amesian tribe and humanity still hold hope. Izum agrees to help Razin, stating the favor will cost him, suggesting payment in scotch or rare books. Razin then notices the markings of the blood seal are missing from Izum's sword. He mentions the bandages Yu Xiao wore were difficult to track as they were imbued with blessings from the high priests of Ammonius, implying they should do a better job keeping the beast at bay. Izum realizes Razin hasn't truly retired from tracking. Olo adds that people like Razin never truly give up, removing a small tracking dart from his own arm and admitting he hasn't given up either. Razin tells Izum he should have noticed Olo's aura if his senses were sharp, advising him not to slack on his training. Razin tosses Izum's resealed sword back to him, calling it payment, and instructs him to watch Yu Xiao closely. Izum warns that if Yu Xiao proves to be more trouble than she's worth, he will bring her straight back. As Razin and Olo prepare to leave, Olo comments that Izum seems eager for the hunt. Razin reminds Olo that their enemy defeated the Xiao single-handedly, cautioning that the hunt will be difficult. Olo agrees, though he appears thoughtful.